Mr. Groen? Present. And I am present. We have quorum. Just a few housekeeping notes. First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming out today. It is, we understand it's a holiday, but if this addendum to our return to school plan is to be implemented tomorrow, it had to get done today. So appreciate everybody for coming out. We will have public input tonight. If you want to sign up to speak, Ms. Beth has the list right there. Your time is limited to 3 minutes and must be a stakeholder in the community, either by being a parent with a child enrolled here or a taxpayer or an employee, okay? Also, we won't have any talking over one another, any outbursts or yelling. We will have zero tolerance for that. You will be asked to leave, okay? First, since we have recognized quorum, how many do we have right now? Okay, board, we have 6 that have signed up, which our policy takes 5. Do we have a motion to approve the 6th?
Do we need to approve first having it, since on the emergency policy?
It was added to the agenda, so now I checked.
So we don't have to approve that? Okay. I so move.
Ms. Overberg makes the motion to add unlimited community input. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Lisa, can you run the clock?
Yes.
When they get started, once they start.
Yes.
First, we have Ms. Sherry Stouffer.
Hi, I serve as the elementary school nurse, and I've been with West Clark and Silver Creek for 13 years. And, you know, regardless of my personal views about how the pandemic has been handled by officials across our nation, I started out last year just realizing that as a public health nurse, I needed to support my administration by finding out, you know, what the rules were, what we needed to do to keep children safe and to be in line with the guidelines that the state health department was giving us. And, you know, we did that to the best of our ability. It was challenging, but we got through it. My biggest week last school year was 5 positive COVID cases. We thought that was a bad week. Before we shut down for 2 weeks of e-learning, I processed 26 positives and sent home multitudes of children. And we don't just send them home indiscriminately. We are very careful about our measurements. We keep accurate seating charts from the teachers on all their movements throughout the day in the classroom, in the lunchroom, and so on. And we send home as few as we possibly can, but it has gotten really overwhelming. So when the governor issued this order that we could take advantage of, that if we were all masked, we could avoid sending home close contacts if they were not symptomatic, no illness symptoms. It was a much needed relief, and we're hopeful to be able to take advantage of it. And I know that masks are a nuisance to many people. I've had COVID and I've been vaccinated, so I have enjoyed going into businesses where I could freely shop and so on without a mask on. But you know, when I go to the hospital to visit someone or I go to the doctor's office myself, I mask up because it's required. And in the school setting, I feel like it is a price we should be willing to pay for our students to not get sent home on quarantine. And any 2-layer mask, it doesn't have to be a surgical mask, but we have lots of these that were given to us by FEMA when the pandemic first started that are still available for us to give to students if needed. Any kind of 2-layer cloth mask will work. And even gaiters, they say that if they're folded over so that there is 2 layers across the nose and mouth, they can be worn. So we're hopeful that this provision, we believe it has the potential to really give us a much better school year this year. We've had students that have come back from a quarantine and only been in school for a few days and then get sent home again because of another re-exposure. I had a mom break into tears the minute I called her to tell her her daughter was being quarantined because she was a single mom, had started a new job, had no paid time off accrued, and didn't know what she was going to do. So I feel like the benefit to our community of not having to quarantine is great. And there will still be a few, okay, all right.
Next we have, I think it says Armand, but I can't. You're going to yield your time? Okay. Ms. Jennifer Matthews?
Okay. So based on this new plan, the school is going to force my child to wear a germ-filled, worthless piece of fabric over their face for 8 hours. I'm here to tell you it isn't happening. It is clear that you've all bought into the fear-mongering propaganda, and as sad as that is your right, just like it is my right to make the decision that I feel is best for my children. If you believe in the myth that masks work in any way to protect you from COVID, then wear one, but do not think that you have the right to mandate my child to do the same. If your mask works, why does my kid need one? If I feel like taking the gamble that my child might get a virus that rarely affects children with a survival rate of 99.995%, then I have that right to do so. Masks do not work. Even N95 masks cannot filter out COVID particles. If a hospital-grade mask does nothing, do you really think the fabric one that Grandma made that kids stuff in their pockets that are worn for days without washing is really going to save us all? Come on, make it make sense. You are supposed to be advocates for these children. Now is your time to stand up for them, but you won't. So keep pushing the agenda and believing the false data, but I am here to tell you that my children will not be participating. Do what you have to do to protect yourselves politically and financially, and I will do what I feel is best for my children. I will not submit them to this Munchausen by proxy psyop that you are creating. Forcing a child to wear a mask is child abuse. It's psychological torture at a time of crucial development. I will never teach my children to live in fear or to submit to government overreach. What I do teach them is to be kind, don't lie, and to question everything, and also to rely on facts. Speaking of facts, here's a few. As of August 14th, according to the almighty CDC, 430 children under the age of 18 had died from COVID out of the over 4 million that have been tested positive. That is 0.001%. A child has a better chance of dying getting struck by lightning. The numbers for the positive tests and deaths are inflated and incorrect. They just make it up as they go. And the last fact I will tell you is that we the people are fed up. We are done. We will no longer comply. We played along last year while the media spread the hype and we were forced to stay home and to wear masks, all while politicians seemed to be exempt from their own rules and went maskless often. Rules for thee, not for me. Be a good sheep. Put your muzzle on. We were told hospitals were overran with patients while watching TikToks of entire units of nurses doing dance mobs and citizen journalists going to hospitals that were virtually empty. Please, wake up. It's a game, and they're laughing at you because they're winning. And until we stand up against this corrupt system, they will continue to take everything away from us. The masks were just the start, and now we're on to the experimental mark of the beast, and they will not stop there if we let them. I, for one, will stand up for my children's rights, and I will not allow you or anyone else to take them away. I urge every parent here to do the same. It breaks my heart to have to take my kids away from in-school learning and teachers and friends they love, but that is the choice you are forcing parents to make. I will always choose the wellness of my child. You should all be ashamed.
Thank you. Next, we have Laura Dement.
Hi, I think most of you on the board remember me from last month, and I was asking you to require masks. So I'm glad that we've come around to asking our children to wear masks and the staff. The goal, as we stated last month, is to keep the kids in school. Personally, I would like to see the quarantining of 3 feet with masks continue. However, I think this is a good compromise, a better compromise than what was presented at the last emergency meeting. A plan that can change week to week like last time is not good for the students. It's very difficult for the parents to figure out what to do with their children from week to week. I know it's not good for the staff either. It's challenging for you all to make those changes from week to week. So I'd like to see the mask mandate go through the end of the year. We're not going to get over this in a short amount of time. I understand that as is stated, that the mask mandate is per the executive order, goes through the end of the month. But I'd like you to consider taking it longer than that. As my friend who is a nurse told me the other day when we were discussing this, he works in a hospital. Masks work. That's why all the staff in the hospitals have to wear masks. That's why you have to wear a mask when you go into the hospital. If a parent, this is a second thought in this new plan. If a parent chooses to quarantine because they get the call for close contact, I'm asking that the administration does not penalize that student for quarantining if the parent thinks that that's what's best for their family. So I ask for that to be considered as well, because that was not stated. But there will be parents who decide that that's what's best for their family, so I ask that that is added. So again, I'm happy with this new addendum to the back to school plan. However, there's some things I'd rather see. Please extend this through the end of the year, and then let's see where we're at. And also, please don't penalize a child if the parent decides to quarantine them because they find out they're in close contact. And one more note. This has happened to my family. My family chooses to wear masks. Masks, yes, do not work if everyone does not wear a mask. Because my son wears a mask to school, and guess what? He came home with COVID because nobody sitting around him wears a mask. And that's it. So masks work. Thank you.
Next, we have Jeff Bronner.
Okay, we could get into this endless debate whether masks work or they don't. You know, your friend is a nurse, I get it. My best friend is the director of emergency services at a Jewish hospital, and if he were standing here today, he would tell you that masks contribute to the spread of the virus, not stopping it. Why? Because for exactly what was stated earlier, kids take their mask off, they sit them on a table. Where's all the germs end up in the inside of the mask? Most of the, in best case scenarios, are being washed once a week. Why they work in emergency services and in emergency rooms? Why those doctors, they scrub in, they put a mask on before they go in. That mask is taken off when they leave, it is thrown in the garbage. We are not working in a controlled environment. Masks do not work in a non-controlled environment. They contribute to the spread. So I got a question for the board. It says here that we have permission from the state to change our quarantine practice. When you say the state, can someone clarify that for me, please?
We meet weekly with the state epidemiologist, which is a physician who specializes in disease processes, chief nurse consultant, and the state health commissioner.
Okay. So with that said, I have here a Supreme Court ruling from the state of Wisconsin, where the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the plaintiff that the state, unless you have authority from the legislative branch, you do not have the authority to make mask mandates. This is not challengeable. If this continues, that you will implement this, those of us that are opposed will take this to the Supreme Court, and we will win. There's a precedent set right here. So unless even Governor Holcomb has the authority from the legislative branch, there's no authority set by indicated here by the Supreme Court of Wisconsin that there is no authority granted. And you can look that up. It is the Lindsay versus Heinrich. So you are welcome to look that up on your own. Oh, and last but not least, I think it's laughable that this was opened up in prayer because, frankly, I'm under the authority of the Lord Jesus Christ. His word states, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, what your body will wear. Is not life more food than body and clothes? Look at the birds of the air. Do they not sow or reap or stow away in barns, and yet Heavenly Father feeds them? Are you much more valuable than they? Can any of you, by worrying, add a single day to your life? You guys live in fear. Matthew 10:28 says, "Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy the body and soul in hell. Are not 2 of the sparrows sold for a penny, yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside of the Father's care? And even the very hairs on your head are numbered. So don't be afraid, you are worth more than 2 sparrows."
Thank you, Mr. Bronner. Last, we have Barbara Anderson.
Hi, I'm a grandmother. My children live in Sellersburg and attend the primary and the elementary school. One is an asthmatic and very high risk for COVID. We've been scared to death since day one that she would come home with something. We wanted to do virtual learning this year. We did not want our child in school because we fear for her safety. Her sister could bring it home to her. She has to do a CPAP machine daily. Almost every human being wore a mask because they got it. They understood that it helped to stop the spread. It will not stop the spread, but it will help to stop the spread. So let's just stop for a minute, be practical for a minute, stop attacking each other's religious values and your beliefs, because I think the world is full of a lot of God-fearing Christians. And we all need to stop and put the safety and the sanctity of our children's lives first and foremost. So thank you for the decision you're making.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. With that being said, Dr. Briggs, do you want to go over the highlights of the return to school plan?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay, the addendum number 2, I've listed there some data. We've been in school this semester 23 days. Our elementary, primary, and middle school have only been in school slightly under 60% of those days. That's a little higher for the high school because they only had 1 week of e-learning. The bottom line is this: we are forced to quarantine, whether we like it or not. And I know that some would say we don't have to follow that. Some would say we do. The advice we're getting, we do. So we are. We have quarantined over 1,100 students in 23 days. Now, that's not unique students because some have been quarantined more than once. We can sit here and debate safety, whether a mask works, whether it doesn't work. But what we cannot debate, in my opinion, is that kids are better off educationally when they are sitting in front of their teacher. That's my opinion. So that being said, the state has, on the one hand, done us a favor and said, hey, you still have to contact trace, you don't have to quarantine. However, it came loaded, you have to wear a mask to do it. So my number one charge is to keep our kids physically in school. We cannot go every month shut down for 2 weeks. Educationally, I'm not even getting into personal. You know that as well. But I'm speaking from an educational standpoint. Our kids have to be in front of their teachers. And this is the only way, whether we like it or not or agree with it, it does not matter. It's the only way we are able to do that. Now, people will still be quarantined, even with a mask on, the entire time. This is not going to eliminate quarantines. However, I'm hedging my bet that out of the next 23 school days, it's not 1,100 times. And hopefully we do not have to shut down. We may, but again, this is the best chance that we have. So the recent executive order by the governor, and again, you can interpret executive orders all you want. That's fine. We get the advice of our school attorney. We get the advice of our insurance, and we take the next best step as we can. Executive orders to us are non-negotiable from public schools. Period. So if we do not want to keep sending kids and staff home, we have to put a mask on everybody. Now, hopefully this is short term, and that's why I'm recommending we do it for the length of that executive order. I would love to be sitting here a month from now and we go back to saying, hey, no mask, We get to 2%, we're going to put a mask on, we get to 6, that would be great. Hopefully in a month from now, we don't even have to worry about anything. But COVID is here. It's not going to go away, but we have to teach your children. We owe them that. And the only way we can do that is if they're sitting in front of our professionals. Thank you.
All right, Board, you've heard the recommendation of the superintendent. Do we have a motion to bring this to the floor for discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Franklin makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second it.
All right. Any discussion?
Do we need to vote to do it?
No, this just brings it to the floor so we can discuss. And then we'll vote after discussion.
I'll make a real quick response. Though this is not ideal for everyone, as we can see here tonight, not everyone agrees. It's okay. And to your point, we all do have to try to get along, regardless of decision. And yes, depending on how we do things, we are trying to do the best we can. It is not a determination that we are all medical experts up here, but yet we are forced to make these decisions. And Dr. Briggs, I agree with you too. Our kids are better off in front of a teacher. How do we do that? Let's try to put a mask on. I also agree that 23 days from now, if we need to go back and look, let's look. And yes, I'm not a proponent of the mask, but my son learns better in front of the teacher. My daughter will learn better in front of a teacher. And they will do what I ask them to do and I tell them to do. I am the adult. If I wanted to raise a fuss about it, I would do it. But yes, it is unheard of to always have us, the school board and the school corporation, in charge of our kids, when yet you go outside of the school corporation, you can do whatever you want. Last year was different. It was a state mandate across the board, no matter where you went. Myers, I don't care. You gotta wear a mask. You can walk into the food store, you gotta wear a mask. But yet here in the school, we have to wear a mask. And guess what? My kids will do that. And I pray for everybody's health and safety and my kids and everybody else.
Yeah, I appreciate that the addendum is masking, and which will allow us to maximize the number of students and staff in the building, which will allow us to hopefully not have to go virtual again. I think that's what's best for our students and our staff. And I appreciate this step that we're taking, whatever our personal feelings are on masks. I'm glad that we're able to come to the table on this and make a decision that is best for our students. I know when you put that many students in a room all day, there's measures you just have to take so that it doesn't spread. And so I would also like to see it continue for a little while. But for now, I think this is a good compromise.
Make a comment. You know, I've been out of town for the last couple of weeks, and every state I was in, it was mask mandate indoors. If you was outside and you could social distance, you didn't have to wear a mask. But if you were indoor, 5 states that I was in it, you have to wear a mask. And I'm for this amendment.
Just briefly, I think Dr. Briggs did an excellent job just kind of laying it out. Somebody made the statement earlier that they felt that some of our decisions were based upon fear. My decisions are not based upon fear. I wish that contact tracing and quarantining was eliminated, period, in public education. Our educators and professionals in our building do not go into education to basically manage a virus in the building. And that's all they've been doing, unfortunately, since school started. However, if the only option that we have to keep our kids in school is to ask them to wear a mask, then you're weighing that against the kids being out of the building or wearing a mask. And in my view, what's more detrimental is them being out of the building. And that's not just affecting their education. For a lot of these kids, the building,
public education in general, provides them food, stability, supervision. The teachers, the coaches, the people in the buildings that they have a connection to play a vital role in their life. And I'm asking everybody here to give this a chance with an open mind, where we can see where it goes in the next 30 days. For our kids to see what comes with the next order. If it gets extended, we'll just continue to evaluate it. But it's a tough decision for all, but we need to be united on it. We need to come together and just get through the next month. Go to fall break. Let's see where we're at and reevaluate. Oh, one more thing. I just want to mention too that I know there was some questions about face shields, masks, 3 feet in the classroom facing forward. You know, could all those things and those measures be, you know, looked at to kind of be evaluated? And the bottom line is we've explored all that. We've gotten guidance on that from the Clark County Health Department. Face shields were written into the safety plan last year, the reopening plan last year, and unfortunately the new guidance states that the face shields are not an option because if you use those, that does not eliminate quarantining. And if your goal is to keep the kids in school, those aren't going to work either. So that's just kind of where I stand on everything.
Well, for me, it's about, as you guys know, for the last 4 weeks as a board, we've been trying to figure out how to keep healthy students in the school. It's the healthy students. We've had over 1,160 quarantines. Of those, over 1,100 of them have been healthy. Dr. Briggs is right. It's not just an education standpoint, but believe it or not, that there are other risks and factors that go along with not being in school. Sometimes school lunch is the best nutrition a kid gets all day. The state tells us that cases of child abuse go up dramatically when kids are at home for long periods of time in quarantine. I think your law enforcement friends will tell you that criminal mischief is up dramatically when kids are at home, a lot of times unsupervised. It's not just the healthy kids, but it's also our staff. When you're asking our staff to teach a classroom full of kids all day long, in addition to that, to teach e-learning for a portion of their children, they're working both ends of the wick. They're working weekends. Our health team having to make calls and quarantine kids and listen to parents, the horror stories that Ms. Stouffer said earlier, where you become somewhat of a counselor to them because they don't know how to go. That's what this is for. I'm not a mask person, but I have been asking for the last month to our state senators, to our county health department, to our state legislature, what can we do to end quarantine? They gave me an answer. They gave all of us an answer. May not be the best answer, may not be the answer I wanted, but it's the answer that I will go with, and for that reason is why I support this. Any other discussion? We have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Any other comments from the board before we ask for an adjournment?
What would the punishment for kids who choose not to wear a mask and go against that? Would they be denied access to the classroom?
Dr. Briggs, you want to answer that? You don't have to answer the question, but if you'd like to answer it,
I'll
quick.
gladly answer that, and I have a few principals in the audience if they want to add on to my answer. Wearing a mask now is part of our dress code, so we'll treat it as a dress code violation. Well, let me finish my answer. Okay, we'll treat it as a dress code violation. The first time they don't have one, we'll get them one, and then there'll be progressive discipline throughout. So I guess
If they ended that first one and they refused to put that on, what's the,
that could be insubordination.
and then do you remove them from the classroom?
They ultimately could be removed from school, yes.
And if they refuse to be removed from the classroom, you forcibly remove them?
Well, we would address that like any other student who refuses to follow the rules.
I just wanna, so you guys are voting on is if people refuse to do that, you're gonna, that's what your vote does tonight and everything, just want that to be clear.
What's the virtual option?
Indiana has a virtual option.
Yeah, we do not have a virtual school.
Silver Creek does not have a virtual school. Indiana Academy, I believe, is a virtual school. Any other board members have any comments before we ask for adjournment?
I just want to say that, we can make this as easy as we want it to be, or we can make it as difficult as we want it to be. My kids are going to go to school in a mask. They don't want to wear a mask, but they've said that, but my kids are going to go to school in a mask. Next time we're in here in these walls, I'll be in a mask. That's what it's going to take till we get through the next 30 days and see where we're at. And I'll fully support our superintendent and our principals who are trying to maintain structure in our buildings. Let's do this for each other. I know that there's difference of opinion, but it doesn't have to be this difficult. Let's just take it one step at a time.
Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
Ms. Overberg makes a motion for adjournment. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Meeting.